Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wellness Wednesday. Today, we are going to practice, it's called the reversing and increasing of depth 2, and it harmonizes sadness and grief. So, as we're starting to get into the flow pattern, let's start by holding our ring finger. And the ring finger is the quickest way to harmonize sadness and grief. And when you are grieving or going through some process, if you bring awareness to your hands, maybe you notice that you're doing this or doing something with your ring finger, because our body talks and our body knows. So when we understand a little bit more about jinshin and how the energy moves, we learn that we can just simply hold the ring finger. So let's start like this and taking a few breaths, dropping your shoulder. So our depth 2, our second cycle of energy, harmonizes our lung and large intestine flows. So breathing is so important to move sadness and grief, really to move any emotion, but doubly so because lung lives within our second depth. All right, so let's get into the flow pattern. And this is a flow from the Depth textbook. It's called Reversing and Increasing of the Depths. And the locations associated with our second cycle of energy are location 5 through 15. So by practicing this simple flow, you're harmonizing all of the locations that live there. So let's place one hand on our 24, and 24 is located between the little toe and the ring toe, right in between, and you can just slide out. You may find a tender spot there, like this. And you can place your fingers there or your thumb. And then I like to make a figure 4. That feels good to me, but you find your way, what is comfortable for you. And then the other hand, place it on the lower back on the 2. So we're on the opposite side here, holding 24 and opposite 2. So if this is not comfortable for you, then go a little bit higher and even go on the same line. The stomach flow moves through here, actually. And so we can go on any location on this line if holding 24 is not comfortable. But if it is, then by all means, just hold it. Stay true to the way the flows are presented in the textbook. So Mary Burmeister is really the person who created the concept of a depth, and Master Marai called them lines. So they're lines in the body. Mary Burmeister created the concept of the depths because there's many attributes that we could put in it. And when we understand in which depth a project is, it's much easier to treat because then we can look at the whole depth. So understanding the depth, what is in there? Well, the safety energy locations are in there, 5 through 15. The organ flows, lung and large intestine. And then we have the function, which is deep skin. So these are some of the things when there is a project that we can start to place it in a depth. Or of course, when you listen to the pulses. And on a pulse level, we hear depth 2 on your left finger, on your left index finger, superficial and deep. You feel the depth 2. So, but by all means, you don't need to listen to the pulses. We can go even by what we're feeling. And we all have losses in our life at some point in time. Or sometimes you just have a day where you feel sad, and then this flow is going to be very helpful. And it's easy to practice on someone else also. All right, so let's take one more breath here. And by the way, just a little something about 24 here. 24 is located on the 5th depth, and the 5th depth harmonizes and builds our skeletal system. So for any bone projects or anything like that, 24 is great. And also it harmonizes chaos and brings about peace. So 24 is a wonderful location that we often overlook. All right, let's take our hand off and moving it to 14 here, to the opposite. So here we're now on the same side, 2 and 14. Taking a few breaths here, allowing for energy to descend here. And if we have a project in our lungs and we have mucus there and any respiratory project, we want to bring the energy down. Very nice. This is also a great flow for flus and viruses, our colds. Second depth is very important. And then let's move our hand to the high one here. High one on the upper thigh. So again, this also helps our breath. And it's very important within the second depth that we allow for our exhale, because when we're holding sadness and grief, we need to let it go, right? Even it's not suppressing the feeling, but it's harmonizing it. And then you may feel it again, but it's a deeper layer. Also, Master Marai has said that cancer has been found within the second depth. So this cycle of energy is really important to keep a lot of today's labels out and keeping our second depth in order. And then the last step is moving our hand from the high one to the 13 here. And 2, bringing about wisdom. So that's the anchor step. We're holding it throughout the whole flow pattern. And then 13, harmonizing all of our emotions, bringing about our creativity and the child within us. So 13 is a wonderful location also for appetite balance. And sometimes when we grieve or when we have long projects, it can certainly affect our appetite. And so this brings balance about. This is the last step of the flow, so easy. So I would like to share with you a mudra. So gently let go. And yes, you can hold each location for, like we did, a couple of moments. So in 8 minutes, you can give yourself a really nice flow. So now the mudra to harmonize our second depth is bringing your thumbs over your ring fingernails like this. And you can do this when you're hiking or when you need to take a breath, when you have a hard time breathing. Bringing about joy and laughter is the opposite really of sadness and grief when you feel down. Most importantly, bringing about the breath, and that's what jinshin is about, to bring us back to the moment, to bring us back to our breath and the dropping of our shoulders, and we can all do it. So take a few moments in the day to focus on your breath, give yourself some jinshin. Very good. So I thank you all so much for joining. If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channels and like the videos. I read all your comments, so please comment. We have an active community and I'm very grateful for you all. Thank you for joining. See you next week.